Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're tackling a really fascinating collision between our minds and modern technology. We're looking at a fundamental shift in how we actually process information, and it's something that is affecting the daily lives of every single one of us.
I mean, think about it. Are we slowly outsourcing our brain power to AI tools? The rapid rise of artificial intelligence has just completely transformed how we learn, how we work, and how we solve problems. Tasks that used to demand hours of deep reflection are now spat out by chatbots in seconds. But as AI hands us these instant answers, we really have to ask ourselves, are we losing our own mental muscle in the process?
So let's look at the convenience of AI and how we've gone from effort to instant answers.
It's wild when you step back and look at it, because we are living through this massive generational shift. Think about the effort-based learning environment of the 40-plus crowd. You know, they grew up wrestling with textbooks, digging through library archives, and mentally connecting the dots. It took effort, but that friction, that's what built critical thinking. Today, though, it's all about instant gratification. Instead of recalling facts or reasoning through a complex problem, it is almost a reflex to just reach for a phone. Convenience is quietly but surely replacing cognitive effort.
To really wrap our heads around the magnitude of this, let's look at the calculator of thinking, a familiar technological crutch.
So, think back to a time when people could easily multiply 13 by 7 in their heads without a second thought. Today, most of us instinctively grab our smartphones just to figure out a 20% tip at a restaurant. And look, the issue isn't that calculators exist, it's the gradual decline in our mental math skills simply because we depend on them so much. We are now on a parallel track where AI threatens to do the exact same thing to our independent reasoning.
And that brings us to this perfect quote from our source material issuing a pretty stark warning. AI may become the calculator of human thinking. If this trend continues unchecked, future generations might genuinely struggle to answer even basic questions without some sort of technological assist. Human intelligence develops through effort, right? So if we remove the effort, we lose the motivation to build our intellectual capacity.
So, what does this look like in practice? Let's check out 3 warning signs, real-world cautionary tales. We can see the hidden dangers of outsourcing our thought processes through 3 specific personas: the hollow expert, the common sense bypass, and the mentorship gap.
First up, the hollow expert. Picture a young professional tasked with putting together a complex risk management presentation. Instead of doing the research, he outsources the whole shebang to AI. The formatting is gorgeous, the vocabulary is stunning, and it essentially crowns him as a risk expert. Just one massive problem. The presentation lacked absolutely any actual substance. Because he didn't have the foundational knowledge to begin with, he couldn't even spot the glaring omissions the AI confidently hallucinated.
Which naturally leads us to a pretty solid rule of thumb for surviving the AI age. AI should be the second line of defense, not the first. It is an incredible tool for organizing information. Absolutely. But the final responsibility for validating truth, that always has to rest on human shoulders.
Okay, our second warning sign, the common sense bypass. Imagine a colleague is asked to explain a simple correlation in a news report. Instead of taking a beat to use his own life experience and logic, he immediately pulls out a chatbot. When asked to just, use his common sense instead, he literally hesitates. Independent thinking had become his backup plan. If we automatically defer our judgment to an algorithm, our common sense muscle is absolutely going to atrophy.
And finally, we have the mentorship gap. When senior professionals delegate their analysis to AI just to save some time, they accidentally cut younger employees totally out of the loop. Expertise is forged in the fires of practice, right? Making mistakes and refining judgment over years. If AI does all the heavy lifting, we risk creating a whole generation of workers who know exactly how to prompt a bot, but lack the underlying wisdom to know if the answer is actually any good.
All right, let's step back and look at the actual science here with the cost of cognitive offloading. The brain is a muscle. Neuroscientists have argued for years that the brain functions a lot like a muscle. You use it, it strengthens. You neglect it, it deteriorates. Cognitive offloading is simply the practice of relying on external tools to perform mental tasks. Now, writing notes or using a calendar, that's harmless cognitive assistance. We all do it. The danger strikes when the offloading becomes so extreme that the brain completely forgets how to do the task itself. Just look at how this has snowballed across the digital age. Step 1. We offloaded memory. I mean, you probably don't know your best friend's phone number by heart anymore. Step 2. We offloaded navigation to GPS.
Step 3, we happily offloaded spelling, thank you autocorrect, and now, step 4, we are offloading independent thought to AI. It is the next logical, yet deeply concerning step in our tech progression.
But listen, AI isn't the enemy here. So how do we fix this? It comes down to assistant versus substitute, finding the balance.
Literally every time you open an AI tool, you're making a fundamental choice. Are you using it as an assistant or a substitute? As an assistant, say to clarify concepts or automate boring busy work, AI actively amplifies your capabilities. But the moment it becomes a substitute, replacing your critical thinking while you blindly accept its outputs, that's when it weakens you.
So here is what you can actually do, starting today, to safely integrate these tools. First, consciously preserve your intellectual independence. Try to tackle the question yourself first before you ask the chatbot. Never accept AI-generated content without rigorously verifying its accuracy. And above all, keep relying on and flexing your own hard-earned reasoning.
Because ultimately, human civilization was built on the remarkable capabilities of our minds, our intuition, our wisdom, and our empathy. The future isn't about human intelligence versus artificial intelligence. It's about how we combine them. AI is going to continue to advance, there's no doubt about that. So the only question left to answer is, will AI be our greatest partner or our most subtle intellectual dependency? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep exercising that incredible mind of yours.